on, girl, let's scream.
I am a god.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. This is the part where you run.
Come on, scream.
Hello and welcome to Let's Scream, a podcast where we dive into our favorite horror movies. I'm Stevie.
And I'm Parker. Today we are looking at 1986's Little Shop of Horrors, directed by Frank Oz.
Join us as we journey to Skid Row and learn all about Audrey 2.
Girl, are you ready to sing?
Come on, girl. Let's
sing!
And we, this week, are joined, well, not just this week, but all this month, because we are doing...
SHOWTUNE Screamtember.
So we're doing musicals for the next 4 weeks. And we'll be joined by fan favorite.
Fan
Keaton.
favorite.
Clap
Here
for
I
fan
am.
favorite.
Clap for
everybody.
fan favorite. Yes, so we're doing movie musicals this month. And you're our, resident... musical theater
Theater
guy.
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a theater kid through and through.
And Stevie don't really like musicals.
Even though that was supposed to be a musical theater major when
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
doesn't like musicals, but I
Wait, let's unpack that really quick.
I liked performing.
Oh.
And I liked singing. But I don't give a shit about musicals. You think I would listen to musicals? It's no, I showed up, learned my part, and I went home.
for 7 years my top stream songs on Spotify were show tunes.
I had
For
my
7
show
years
tunes
straight.
pick when I was in 4th grade. I remember that.
No, I was
Not fourth
I
grade.
was like
And it was because of what we'll be covering next week.
I,
Oh,
no, it was
God.
from
God.
junior year of high school
But
to 2020 was every year some musical overtook me and I listened to it for
Oh,
hours.
Keaton, you and I can shoot the shit about musicals.
Yo,
some-
yeah.
Day and night.
I fuck with and I have fun with.
Yeah.
I like Hairspray.
Well,
love Hairspray.
I love Cats.
Ugh.
Not the new one. Not the new one. Not the new one.
and they're like, I hate musicals, but then they're like Cats.
Listen. Listen.
the
I
worst
do.
one.
So, I used to be a big theater kid.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is part of my lore. And I still love musicals, but I just kind of had I kind of got burnt out. I did so much musical theater in my youth
Yeah.
that the concept of performing in a musical nowadays makes me feel exhausted.
Yeah.
But I love Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, love Little Shop of
This
Horrors.
is one of my favorites. Now, I'm not as familiar with the actual stage show. It's just not one that I have seen as much.
Yeah.
But this movie, I grew up with and, is part of
My lore.
my lore. It's part of it. What about you guys?
I just knew about this one. I've never seen it until yesterday. But it's one that I knew everything about it. I knew the characters. I knew
It's
the
everyone has
story.
absorbed this to
It's
the
infamous.
zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Because it is so
I know
beloved.
most of the
tropes are
songs.
so
I'm
funny.
I just don't.
The tropes
So
are
it's just one-
classic.
and I'm also, again, not the kind of person who's going to sit down and be like, I want to watch a musical right now.
Fair.
See, now where my lore jumps in is for most of my life I have been. I'm gonna sit down and watch this musical. And when I was in middle school, I would watch a bunch of inappropriate musicals that I shouldn't have been watching, but I was a latchkey kid. So if it was on Netflix, it was available to me. And I was 13 watching Best Little Whorehouse of Texas,
Let's save this movie.
Little Shop of Horrors, Rocky Horror Picture, all of those things. Watching them home alone while my mom was at work.
Yeah.
So big, I'm gonna sit down and watch. And then I did shows for a while, but don't. It sounds exhausting.
Exactly, yeah.
Especially, I used to, after a full day of high school, and then go to practice, and
No, to the grown-ass adults that do musical theater,
good for you.
I'm give it up for them because it's hard fucking work. And you kind of have to have a lot of free time, which I do not.
Yeah.
As, someone with a, 9 to 5. But anyway,
This movie's short. It's 90 minutes.
this movie is nice and short.
And the songs aren't overwhelming. The ones that are in it are good. I don't think there's any where I'm okay, get rid of this. There's no filler. There's good space in between the songs, which is sometimes a problem with the musical. Like, I fucking hate Les Mis because they sing the whole time.
It's an opera, Mama. It's an opera.
And it's too long. It's like long as shit.
Don't they sing in the movie we're doing next week that you love so much the whole time?
No, I just have a history with this movie. Well, yeah, also I like all the music in the next movie though.
But they don't sing the whole time.
The music's good. I'm like, listen, story. We'll get into it next.
Yeah.
We'll save that for next week. That conversation.
Keep that commentary in your brain.
These next 4 weeks are for these two. No, I'm just here. I'm playing passenger princess these next 4 weeks. Yeah. I'm just here to give my opinion on everything and just be honest about it. I like this movie. I like the director. He's done other stuff. He did like Dark Crystal, which is a great one. He's done some Muppet movies. Frank Oz.
Yeah, I have some fun facts. Do you guys want me to give a little breakdown?
Give a little fun fact.
Okay, so like Stevie was saying, the director Frank Oz is famous for the Muppet movies. He's actually not only a director, but he's a very world-renowned puppeteer that comes from the world of like Jim Henson. Yep. And he's played several of the Muppets, including Miss Piggy. My Diva, and Fozzie, and a lot of them. He's done a lot of the Muppets.
That's crazy.
He was also the puppeteer for Yoda in Star Wars, bitch.
Wow.
So yeah, Yoda directed this movie. Fun fact.
And the Hensons did the puppets.
Right.
The Henson Company and
so
Jim Henson's son.
Yeah, so that was literally going to be my next one.
Gag.
And the film's effects, including the various Audrey 2 puppets and animatronics, are all practical. There is no CGI in this movie.
Crazy.
My favorite aspect of Audrey 2, well, there's kind of two things I love about it. First of all, how like kind of wet its mouth is.
Oh,
like, how the fuck did they do that?
Ushy gushy.
Ushy gushy my pussy. You want to take him a lookie. But the lips are very intricate. Like, so the way that they were able to pull off how like smoothly its lips are, because it really is crazy. Like when you think about the fact that it's a puppet and its lips are moving so like detailed, it's they filmed it at half speed. Like they had Rick Moranis like lip sync to himself at like slowed down speed, and then you speed it up in post to like normal, and then you can show all the intricacies of the mouth moving and stuff. So that's pretty cool. It's the same way that Mariah Carey films her music videos. So
I thought she filmed them. She would record at double speed and then they'd slow it down.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say.
Oh, okay.
But it's like the reverse.
Oh, okay.
That.
I was like, wait.
So yeah,
double speed.
Yeah. So
and
Mariah,
then when it's really cool because then when she's like in her music videos, it's how her hair like gets that really windblown effect.
She figured out a way to make her hair move in slow motion while her lips are still lip syncing at normal speed.
She's so smart.
I know. I love her. I love Mariah. We could literally do a podcast about Mariah Carey.
We could. Let's hope y'all want that. Biggie Smalls did say Mariah Carey is kind of scary. So she is scary. We could.
So she makes us scream. I mean, she made me scream when I was at the concert. But okay, so my next fact is that the soundtrack was written by Howard Ashman and Alan Menken, who composed, aka the team behind Disney's like most iconic soundtracks. Somewhere That's Green, Audrey's song in this movie, is pretty much the main reference for when they wrote Part of Your World, Ariel's song. And that's why they sound so similar. Like they're kind of the same song. In fact, when Howard Ashman was trying to create the vibe for this song, talking to Alan Menken, he was like, well, let's just do Somewhere That's Wet, basically, instead of Somewhere That's Green, before they came up with the title Part of Your World.
That's crazy.
And Disney hired the duo after their success with this movie, and they're often credited for the like success that Disney had in the 80s and 90s. Because Disney was in their flop era for a really long time.
Floppy on
And it wasn't until they brought on these two for Little Mermaid, all of a sudden they had a huge hit. Then we have the Disney Renaissance of the 90s with all of our favorite movies from when we were kids.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have happened without this
These
partnership.
two. Yeah.
And in particularly Howard Ashman, who was the lyricist and the main writer of the story of Little Shop of Horrors, of the musical. And he is he's a huge deal, guys. He was a gay man who unfortunately died due to complications with AIDS, literally during the making of Beauty and the Beast, when he was at his peak of success. So it's really sad, but he was basically revolutionary. He's the godfather of contemporary musicals, and he's the reason why Disney movies in the 90s had so much heart and soul.
Oh yeah,
because he really gave a lot of character.
Well, a lot of them were written from his own perspective. Part of Your World is technically a queer anthem.
Yes, because The Little Mermaid is a queer story.
Yeah.
And was written, Hans Christian Andersen, the original fairy tale writer, was queer.
Yeah.
And it's a metaphor for the queer experience. And that's why Ursula's a drag queen. And there's some queer undertones that we can kind of get into with this movie, Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, lots of queer undertones.
I saw, some stuff there. It's not
some homosexual stuff.
Some LGBT. Are your Howard Ashman? Is your family okay with your LGBTQ lifestyle?
Is your family accepting of your LGBTQ lifestyle?
So rest in peace to him. We have a lot to thank because of him. This movie is based on the breakdown is it was first a kind of B movie, science fiction movie called The Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
In the 50s or 60s, I can't exactly
remember. It was
remember.
1960 the movie came out.
1960.
Was the original movie.
And then these two came by and they created a musical that was off Broadway and was really successful. And then it was eventually made into this movie adaptation. But Ellen Greene was the original Audrey in that production.
Even when it was a showcase.
When it was just... She was Audrey from the get-go.
Yeah, always Audrey. And this debuted in 82, by the way.
In 82. Okay. And for this film, they considered Cyndi Lauper and Babs, Barbra Streisand.
Not Babs!
Could you have imagined Barbra Streisand
singing Somewhere That's Green?
Seymour. Hello, gorgeous.
And Cyndi Lauper would just be, hey, Seymour!
Yeah, she'd be real New York about it, yeah.
Somewhere That's Queen!
I could see it more for Cyndi Lauper.
Than Babs.
She kind of had that Betty Boop.
Betty Boop, yeah, exactly.
She kind of talks like this.
She's so unusual.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they were these divas are great, but no one can do Audrey like Ellen Greene.
Yeah.
And they were you know what? She's the best actress of the group. She's giving the character the most. She helped create the character. People are going to love her. Let's cast Ellen Greene.
Mama.
And thank God. Because I love her. And
she's so good.
She's the best part of this
movie.
movie.
When I was a kid, I could not understand why she wasn't, insanely famous.
Yeah. She's, basically known for Audrey. But, she didn't kind of need to do anything after that because she's a household name just for playing Audrey.
Yeah.
And...
Can I say a fun fact?
Yes.
I have a fun fact.
Go
just
for
a random one. At the time, in 86, this was, I believe Warner Brothers produced it.
Okay.
It was Warner Brothers' most expensive movie to date. It cost $25 million. And at the time, the most expensive one was $6.1 million. And I forget what movie that was. What cost 6.1, but that was the previous record. And then they, times 4 said, let's do it. And most of it was because of the puppeteering. It was so expensive to do the puppets.
And all the practical effects. That's a perfect, non sequitur into my final fact.
Okay.
There was an original $5 million ending that was filmed. It was the intention of the writers, of the original team, Howard Ashman and Alan Menken, of the director, Frank Oz, of the cast. They all, like, stood behind the original ending from the stage show. And were like, this is how it needs to be done.
And I agree.
And I totally agree. We'll get into it. So, they shoot the movie with the original ending. They have to do test screenings because it's a movie and every movie does test screenings to make sure if you get at least a 50% or higher audience approval, then your production is considered a go and they feel safe enough. Like the production team feels safe enough.
And they also get notes to be like, okay, were there minor things we could fix that would sway even more people? Because sometimes there is sometimes it could be like, I don't like the lighting or like the filter.
And since we know we're going back, just give us small little things to fix while we do the big stuff.
So during these test screenings, which they did in multiple cities, it wasn't just like, Joe Schmo in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
They even did this in LA. So these are pretty much everybody is saying, we love the movie until the ending, and then we hate the movie. And audiences were leaving, giving it an abysmal rating. And I think it only got like 5%. Specifically, the ending was always the thing that was being noted. Like, this ending, like, we hate your ending.
And that's crazy to me.
And we'll talk about why when we get to that point in the plot, in our plot summary. Because it just has so much to do with the story, what's going on. But basically, they were like, fuck, we can't release this movie. Like,
if everyone hates the ending.
Like, they're not going to allow us to release it unless we change it.
Yeah.
So even though they all rallied behind the original ending, they were like, fuck, what do we do? So they created the ultimate ending that we get, the theatrical version. And it's interesting. We'll talk about it. Yeah. That's going to be a whole part of our conversation. So those are my fun facts.
Yeah.
Again, I adore this movie. It's one of my
too.
favorites. So without further ado, is there anything else you guys wanted to say?
I would like to segue us straight into the plot if I could. If I could have the honor of segueing us into the plot.
Thank you so much,
Kind
Keaton.
of with the fun fact. It's a perfect merger between the two fun fact section and plot section. And this is that segue. Are you ready? Are you two ready for my segue?
I'm ready. I'm ready to scream.
Are you ready? Let's
ready.
Scream and sing. Scream.
Oh, scream. I love it.
So, we open up.
No one says that, but yes.
we open up on Skid Row, which is supposed to be a set created to look like the poorer parts of New York. Mm-hmm. The hardest part of the whole movie had to do with the opening credits because of the set dressing. The puppets, no problem. The Hensons, they got it. Everything else is fine, but we have one problem. We cannot find trash cans that are 60s era New York.
Really?
So the lead set designer gets in a truck. It's a woman. She gets in a truck, pickup truck, and buys a bunch of new trash cans and drives the streets of New York City screaming at people, hey, will you trade me your trash can? I have a brand new one. You can have it for free. Just give me your old one. And that's how they got all of the trash cans for the set of Little Shop of Horrors. And it was the hardest thing to do, they said. Like,
that is so fucking funny.
Isn't that just the weirdest fact? And you would think, trash cans, that'd be the easiest part of a set. But they said because it's Skid Row, it has to be dirty.
Yeah.
So there has to be trash cans everywhere.
Yeah, true.
So that's...
Because it's supposed to be like New York.
Yeah.
Well, first we see, like, outer space.
Well, yeah. We do open to outer space.
We get on the 23rd day of the month. We get like a spooky narrator telling us like the human race suddenly encountered a deadly threat to its very existence, and this terrifying enemy surfaced, as such enemies often do, in the seemingly most innocent and most unlikely of places. Cue the little shop of horrors. And now we're in Skid Row. We have our three, I call them like the muses or the Greek chorus. They're supposed to be very like Diana Ross and the Supremes or like the Ronettes. I think one of her names is Ronette.
It's like, Ronette, Chiffon, and Crystal.
Which is those are all based off of like
the Ronettes, the Chiffons, the Crystals.
That's hilarious.
They're all girl group of the 60s.
They are fabulous. It's these 3 like soulful black women with like these amazing gospel voices giving us harmonies. I mean, maybe the original Destiny's Child.
Maybe.
Dare I fucking say it. And they are introducing us to the setting, what's going to happen. They're warning us that, like, some shit's going to go down. Basically.
Yeah, this isn't just a normal musical for the family.
Yeah, so strap the fuck in. Get ready to scream. And the music in this show is very Motown. It's R&B. It's soul.
It's just fantastic.
Love it. There's some Elvis going on. There's doo-wop inspiration.
Dynamic. It's dynamic.
Very dynamic. Love the score. So, and I love that it's raining. It's, introducing us to the shithole of Skid Row.
Yeah. Pouring
down rain, looking nasty, but they're completely dry.
Oh, yeah, because they're out of this plot. They don't exist on this dimension.
Exactly.
They're just there for us.
And the reason why we have a Greek chorus is because the story is meant to be a Greek tragedy.
Yeah.
And that comes into play later when we discuss the ending. So we'll get there. But yeah, love these guys. They kind of like walk down into the plant shop, Mushnik's plant shop, which is like our main setting of the movie.
Yeah.
And they introduce us to Seymour. Seymour is played by icon Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis.
Who I adore. He was, I love him in Ghostbusters.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. He's great at playing like a lovable...
Goof.
And right away he trips and he drops a shelf of plants.
Yeah.
Because he's so clumsy.
He's a klutz.
He's so silly goofy. And we also meet Miss Audrey. Who talks like this.
She's an icon.
She's our queen, our diva of the movie. And she comes in to work late, trying to cover up a black eye.
Which Stevie thought...
A bitch.
What's her eyeshadow?
I thought it was her eyeshadow all the way around. I was like, what's her
like
eyeshadow
fallout. She had some fallout.
Why'd she put it all the way around?
And I was like, that's a black eye.
No, she's definitely got a black eye.
She's got a black eye.
And the shop owner, Mr. Mushnick, played by Vincent Gardenia, he is Cher's dad in Moonstruck.
Yes, he is.
He tells...
Icon.
That's another thing. This cast is star-studded.
Star-studded.
We'll get into all the cameos. But he tells Audrey that she should break up with her current boyfriend if he's going to continue to hit on her and, like, be a dick.
Yeah.
And she's like, but he's the only guy I got. Seymour trips again.
Klutz.
Classic Seymour. And he drops more pots, and Mr. Mushnick yells at him. Mr. Mushnick is I wrote Mr. Krabs.
Yeah.
I love money.
Yeah, he's money. Because the whole time he is like, how are we going to make money, guys?
He's the representation of greed in this movie and how it corrupts. Yeah, which is like a big theme.
Yes, because we'll talk about that with
our main
specifically.
Theme. And he's very no-nonsense, and he's always yelling at Seymour, but Audrey, she says, don't yell at Seymour, Mr. Mushnick. And Seymour's like, gee, Audrey, you look radiant today. And it's like, oh, he definitely has a huge crush.
He is
on Miss
down
Audrey.
bad.
That's like his main character trait is in love with Audrey.
Yeah.
That's just everything he does is for Audrey.
Yeah.
Mr. Mushnick yells at the muses, who we now see are dressed in like normal, like kind of punk kids, street urchin clothes at the time. Because in this context, in the context of the actual story, they're just some like kids. Named Crystal, Ronette, and Chiffon.
Well, there are a lot of things, and I think that's something fun about them that we get to see is...
Oh, yeah, when they kind of pop up.
In this scene, they're just kids. They're just
kids.
Street urchins, but they won't always be street urchins.
True, you're right.
They are kind of chameleons.
Whatever serves the story best, that's what they are. And they're just loitering outside the shop, and he tells them, you ought to be in school. And she goes, we're on a split shift. We went to school until 5th grade, then we split. And then he goes, well, how do you intend to better yourselves? Better ourselves? Hear what he said? Better ourselves? Mister, when you're from Skid Row, ain't no such thing. Boom, cue the beginning.
And, okay, let me talk about this. I have another one. Yes. Another fun fact for you, ladies and gentlemen. So, the woman coming down the alley, her name is Beatrice Redding. She's
Queen.
She is a R&B funk soul singer. Very famous, tragically died at like 53.
Oh.
She died in the 90s. So this was her last film ever. And so she's this great singer. They got her to sing this soulful part. Somewhere between filming and final cut that gets released, a rumor starts spreading that she's just making a cameo. She's not singing. It's actually one of the three girls. It's Ronette, Siobhan, or Crystal. Yeah. And this got spread around, and she had to come out and be like, no, I record, like, and there was a big contention over this, and the girls are saying none of us recorded it. No one knows where the rumor got started, but when it was released, she was billed. It was such a big rumor. She was billed,
like in the credits.
In the credits as just a character, and whichever the three it was her character plus the voice of opening singer. Like, the credits were wrong.
She's amazing.
She's amazing.
This riff that she does at the beginning is so sickening. She's lamenting about living life on Skid Row. She's just like a random woman that's in this first scene who just came home from a really long day of work, clearly. And this song is called Skid Row, or it's also called Downtown. This is one of my favorite intro songs in a musical ever. I think it's like perfect. It's a perfect showcase of what I don't like about next week's episode that we're talking about, that movie. This does what that musical just doesn't want to do for some reason, which is choreographing a set piece, choreographing your ensemble characters, framing them in such a way that you're telling a story, and the camera's going through the town, and you have, dynamic shots, and you have like that one scene where all the like kind of downtrodden of society are like climbing that fence in that back alley where Seymour is, and you've got like the people like stomping and the kind of creating like the percussion. Like, the way that the whole scene is choreographed is dynamic and fun, and it completely immerses you.
It sucks you right in. I'm already invested in this plot because of this opening number.
Exactly. Because there are some movie musicals where they literally just, I feel like, have a camera set on a tripod and just have the actors standing in front of the camera, singing at each other.
Like it's a stage show. As if you don't have the ability to move around.
To move around and have fun with the cinematography. And this is just perfect. And we also get what our main characters want. Like, we have Seymour singing about how he's always been poor. Poor. All my life I've always been poor. And we have Audrey singing about how she wants a relationship that's not abusive. But she wants someone to, treat her how she deserves to be treated. And at the end of it, you've got them both leaning up against the corners of a wall, and they're singing about how they want, like, similar things, like they want to be respected.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that the other person is right there.
Right behind him.
Right behind
He's right behind me, isn't he?
He's right behind me, isn't he? But yeah, like, so it's this perfect, like, irony, like, oh, they clearly are perfect for each other and should be together. But they just don't see it because of circumstance, which is what this whole number illustrates. So yeah, love that number. Love
that kind of stuff.
Love that kind of stuff.
Then we get this montage of how slow and boring it is to work at this plant shop. They have no customers. So Mr. Mushnick declares that he is going to close the shop. And Audrey suggests Seymour go get that mysterious new plant you've been working on.
Well, when we were in that scene, again, when Stevie and I are watching it, Stevie goes, wait, what's the store again? And I go, oh, it's a plant shop. And Stevie goes, well, where's all the plants?
Exactly. Yeah. Because he's not displaying any of his plants.
They're
That's
all
the thing.
hidden away, I guess.
Exactly. And so we get this great opening shot, like, that introduces us to the plant. And it's, like, from the plant's point of view as Rick Moranis is, like, carrying it in the pot. And we see them all, like, look down at it. And I love it because it's kind of spooky. It reminds me of, like, this is after Jaws. So it kind of reminds me of those POV shots of the shark, like, looking up at its victims as their, like, little legs are, like, swimming around. Already, like, you're getting kind of horror in, again, the cinematography and the camera work.
Yeah.
And how it tells that story. And he announces that he has named this plant Audrey 2, which makes Audrey, like...
Because he's a simp!
He's number one simp of
biggest
all time.
simp of the world!
And Mr. Mushnick is unimpressed. And he says, no one is going to care about that stupid plant.
Oh my god.
But the literal second that they display it in the window, a man comes in who's played by Christopher Guest, icon Christopher Guest, aka Jamie Lee Curtis's spouse.
That's who that is from Freaky Friday. Oh no.
No.
Is that real life spouse?
Real life.
Oh, what's he been in?
He's a director. He directed the movies like Best in Show.
I love Best in... Oh, okay,
and like Waiting for Guffman and like all those movies.
You thought
it was
when
the
Parker said Jamie Lee Curtis's husband. Oh, her husband from Freaky Friday?
Yeah, I did.
Well, Lindsay
I didn't know she
Lohan-
was married in real life.
Famously, Lindsay Lohan is Jamie Lee Curtis's biological daughter.
I know.
So that makes sense.
Oh,
I understand.
my God.
But no, it's Christopher Guest. Yeah, he directed like all those like improv movies that are really funny. And he's like acted himself a lot. He's like a comedy legend.
Okay.
But he comes in eyes wide. He does not blink the entire shot.
No, he does.
Wow!
What's that interesting looking plant? And
I've never seen anything like it!
Where did you get it?
He's like, after seeing it, I have to buy $50 worth of roses.
Can you break this 100?
Can you break this 100? And you see like the dollar, like the Mr. Krabs dollar signs in Mr. Mushnick's eyes, like, well, get that plant back in the window. Like he immediately is like, wait, the plant. And the guy's like, well, where did you get this plant? And Seymour says, well, do you remember that total eclipse of the sun that happened last week? And it kind of
Total eclipse of the sun.
And we get a flashback. This number is called Dadu, and it is showing how Seymour found the plant. And it's campy. It's
so funny.
It's shot like really, like Seymour's like swinging his arms, like
He's in Chinatown.
And this is the first time you
on the
see
black market.
The Greek
Muses.
chorus in a costume that is fitting to the environment that they're in. That's
They're
not
dressed
just
in, like,
urchins. They're dressed up to be the employees of
this plant shop.
Of this plant shop. So they're in the very like ornate silk dresses, and this is the first like storytelling type of like, see, look, they make sense that they're in this environment too. They're not just going to be in random costumes. They'll match.
And they're kind of like narrators.
Uh-huh.
And Seymour pays a visit to this Chinese man who owns this exotic plant shop. But there was nothing new on display that day until suddenly a total eclipse of the sun happens and a green lightning bolt like strikes down and no one sees it. It like goes over.
Well, because they're all staring at the eclipse.
Which I said, be careful about your retinas.
Your retinas.
You need to be wearing the glasses. We learned in this eclipse that happened this summer.
Oh, that was so cool.
Like, you don't look at the eclipse, or you're going
But
to
then you can stare at it right when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because Stevie and I were on our back porch.
Oh, it was so fucking cool. Yeah. Eclipses are wild. But yeah, this plant appears. It looks like a little Venus flytrap kind of thing, but like bigger and like more alien-y. And it catches Seymour's eye, and the owner sells it to Seymour for $1.95.
I thought that was a bargain.
It's such a bargain. You know, very Delta.
It was a very Delta purchase.
Would appreciate this. Suddenly, business for the plant shop is booming.
But, Mama...
We get a montage of
And
all...
everyone keeps noticing this plant, but no one buys the plant.
Well, I think that he's like, he knows, like, no, this is my selling point. No one's going to get this plant.
No one's going to come in if I don't have the plant.
Exactly, yeah. Because he's very much like capitalism incarnate. Like, he is the personification of greed and consumerism. And yeah, we get this montage of all the NPCs stopping by to buy plants. And Mushnick offers to buy Seymour and Audrey dinner that night because he's like, oh my god, business is booming, you guys, great job. But Audrey says, I have a date.
I have a date.
And which it bums out Seymour.
Aww.
And
his little simp heart can't take it.
And so she leaves, and Audrey too starts wilting and like falls over. And Mushnick is like, okay, Seymour, never mind, you're not coming to dinner. You're gonna stay overnight and you're gonna take care of this fucking plan. Figure out what's going on.
I'm going to dinner though.
Exactly. He's like, bye bitch. Like, and Seymour sings Grow For Me, which is my favorite Seymour song.
Okay.
And he's talking about like all the different like ways that he's tried to grow this plant. And it's just not working. And he says, well, what do you want from me, blood? And then he pricks his finger right on that moment on some rose thorns.
Uh-huh.
And suddenly, Audrey, too, starts making little suckling sounds. Like, baby want bottle. Baby want the bottle. So he trickles some blood into its mouth. Well, first he, like, kind of puts his finger up to it, and it's, like tries to bite his finger. So he trickles some blood into his mouth, and the plant stands up tall, looks very pleased.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. And he leaves as the song ends, and we see Audrey, too, like, just grow a fuck ton.
Yeah.
In, like, 2 seconds. We then see Seymour waiting to go on a radio show to advertise that they have this plan, and it's like this whole thing. The receptionist lady is bending over the desk.
Yeah.
And Audrey too's got his little, like, plant tongue, and he's like,
yeah, perfect.
Like, you gotta eat that ass.
He literally wants to eat her ass.
Eat her ass. And who hosts the radio show?
John Candy.
Well, the funny thing, fun fact, scene-specific fun facts.
Okay.
John Candy was originally offered the role of Mushnik, and he turned it down. Probably because of scheduling, and he wasn't that interested in it. He didn't know.
He's famously very, like, particular about what projects he
then
would take
they're
on.
doing production, and the other guest stars that we'll meet in later are talking about with him, like, oh, you really should have done it. So he turns around and he says, I know you got whoever from Mushnik, but can I have something? Everyone's saying it's so good. I need to be in this movie. Can you find me a role? And here he is, the radio host.
The radio host who's doing all these campy, like, he's using his voice and, like, weird, like, practical sound effects to, like, do, like, shticky radio comedy, basically. And Seymour's interview goes well. And we see, like, Mr. Mushnik is tuning in on the radio. We see Audrey in a cunt black and white dress. This is my favorite Audrey dress. But her arm is in a makeshift cast.
A sling.
With her, like, scarf.
Yeah.
And she runs in. She's like, oh, did I miss it? And she was late to hear the broadcast.
Because she was getting beat up.
And Mr. Mushnik says, well, let me guess, you got tied up? And she goes, no, just handcuffed a little bit.
It's been there.
So we laugh at Stevie's raunchy jokes, but no one fucking laughs at my jokes? Fuck you guys. So then we get the iconic Somewhere That's Green.
Somewhere That's Green. Okay, everyone, what's your favorite line in Somewhere That's Green?
The only line I know is Somewhere That's Green.
Okay, that's your favorite line.
My favorite line? Yeah. I like the whole thing. I like when she says she wants an ironing machine.
You know what I liked in this one? I like the little kids.
That look just like her in Seymour.
Mine is between our frozen dinners and our bedtime, 9:15. I love the, like, emphasis on 9:15. Yeah, right. Get to bed.
Get to bed, bitches. Yeah, this is, like, such a good scene. It's so iconic. It's one of my favorite, like, Broadway songs.
Oh, yeah.
She's singing about what she wants, and we see her, like, fantasy as this, like, quaint suburban home with Seymour and her are married.
Far from Skid Row.
They're far from Skid Row. And there's even, like, little animated Disney-type birds that come and, like, land on her finger that she sings to. And I also love when she caresses the toaster. Because the whole song is, like, her wanting things that, like, are kind of
basic.
Like, basic. Yeah, exactly. It's like sad. It's like funny, but it's also like, damn.
That she can't envision a life that's better than just all right.
Exactly.
Because even that suburban life is just an all right life. You know? She's not even dreaming of being a millionaire.
Like, what she wants is so simple.
Yeah.
It's sad because I feel like, don't we all deserve to, you know, be able to own a toaster? You know what I'm saying?
There are no toasters in our house.
Oh, really? Y'all don't have a toaster? Stevie bought me a toaster.
I know, I need to get a new one. I think I lost it in the move. I lost mine in the move.
And I'm anti-toaster.
Keaton hates toasters.
When Stevie was living with me for a second, they were like, well, I'm going to get you a toaster. Because I like eating toast. So I'm surprised you guys haven't gotten a toaster.
No, I'm anti-toaster.
We also have our little tabletop oven
like air fryer
thing has a toast feature. So
Oh, yeah.
don't really need it anymore.
There we go. But yeah, this is one of my favorite like movie musical sequences ever. And you just really like are so sympathetic with her, and you're just like, damn, I hope she gets what she wants.
I hope, yeah.
To me, like, Audrey is the real, like, protagonist, like, hero in this.
She's the one you root for.
She's the one that you root for.
Yeah, like, Seymour's fine, and I care about him a little bit, but I want Audrey to have everything she's ever wanted.
Same, yeah, exactly. Then we get a song called Some Fun Now, which is the Muses. They're on top of a building. Yeah. I love these cunt outfits that they're wearing. And they're singing about how Seymour's having some fun now.
Yeah.
And it's like a cool, like, calypso number. It transitions to, we see what Seymour's doing. It's not fun. He's, like, literally sitting there with his finger up in the plant's mouth as it's literally drinking his blood like a
it's
vampire.
An udder.
Yeah. And it's, like, draining his energy, and he's getting so tired. And the plant shop continues to thrive, business-wise. But there's so many clients now, and Seymour's so tired that he forgets this big client's order for like a funeral home or something. We have this cute scene of him and Audrey, because she arranges the bouquets. That's like her job, is to do the arrangements.
She's the florist.
She's the florist. And they're talking together, and she's like, you know, Seymour, you should do something nice for yourself. Like, go pick up some nice new clothes. And she's a style icon, so if anyone's gonna, you know...
Talk about clothes, it's her.
Definitely Audrey. She has the cutest outfit.
You said you've already seen your favorite, and we have not seen my favorite. Mine's later in.
Okay. But yeah, she has so many good ones. And he goes, wait, you'd be seen with me in a public place, like a department store? Like, it's like the biggest deal to him.
Sam!
And he's like, well, tonight? And she's like, well, I can't. I have another date.
I have a date.
With this guy who he knows is, like, abusing her.
Yeah.
Who we haven't seen yet.
We haven't met him yet.
She says, but he's a professional, though.
He's a professional.
We cut to Steve Martin.
Steve fucking Martin.
Who's wearing this wig.
Like an Elvis look?
And the wig is so funny to me. Like, it kind of, especially when he's like, there's this first scene we've seen of him where he's driving on the bike and there's the green screen background behind him. And you can tell they put like a wind machine, and the wig is like just like holding on for dear life. And he's doing, kind of like this Elvis-y impression. He's singing this song about being a dentist and how when he was little, he had like serial killer tendencies and would like torment like animals. And so his mom was like, son, you'll be a dentist.
You love pain, I know
what
you should do. And I have 2 fun facts now.
Okay, go for it.
I always got these. One of the big scene redesigns was the dentist office. It had to be completely redone because it was a thing that test audiences hated. Because when you walked in, covered in blood. The white walls are stained with blood. His outfit, his like dentist outfit's a lot more bloody. It's a lot more graphic, and test audiences were like,
that's too much.
That's too much. We already hate the dentist. We don't need like blood on the dentist wall.
True, I kind of get that.
So they like redesigned it. And another thing that was improvised, and it was a secret from the director and producer team, is Steve Martin and that nurse that he punches when he walks in. They planned that on their own.
Really?
That was a Steve Martin bit. He was like, if I walk in and just punch you in the face, like, could you be ready for that? And she was like, that's hilarious.
It's my favorite part of the song.
And apparently they had to like stop production because everyone was laughing so hard.
It's so great. He walks into his job, and like the nurse comes up behind him to like help him.
It's like, doctor.
And he immediately goes, I have a talent for causing people pain. And like right on the beat, he just
text
this bitch in the face. And then later, like when he comes out of his office, doesn't he like hit her again?
Yeah.
I love it. And then he even takes the like laughing gas and is getting high as fuck on this laughing gas before he's operating on these people.
Yeah.
I love the shot. It's like a POV. We're on the inside of someone's mouth. And this mouth has to be like animatronic or like a puppet or something.
Yeah, you can tell. Like, it's definitely like a puppet or something because it's like the way they shot it. It's like, oh, it's like a structure because of like...
all the teeth going all around the screen. Yeah, it's so cool. And then it also cuts. This is also so camp. We're outside the plant shop and Steve Martin like flies in on the motorcycle, into frame and like lands like he just like was in Mario Kart, like coming off a Rainbow Road or something. And he's picking up Audrey. This like Elvis impression that he's doing is giving me very Austin Butler as Elvis vibes.
I have not seen that movie.
Yeah,
it's bad, but it's great. It's camp. I like when Steve Martin does it. I don't like when Austin Butler does it.
Okay, good to know.
He's hilarious. He's deliciously evil, but it's not funny when he's so mean to poor Audrey.
Poor Audrey.
And he like forces her to refer to him as doctor because he's
and that's just messed up.
It's just fucked up. They leave Seymour alone with Audrey Chu, which he now has nicknamed Chewy.
Cute. It's adorable.
And who is now huge. And Tui gets so big that he topples over. And as Seymour is like talking to himself, like, oh, what am I going to do? What's going on? We hear a voice say, "Feed me." And he realizes that the plant can talk. And not only can it talk, it has the voice of a sassy black man.
Well, a famous 1/4 of a band called the Four Tops that were famous in Motown in the 50s and 60s. He's an American baritone is his official title. The Four Tops might not be recognizable, but they have some songs that if I played, you'd be like, oh, yeah.
No, I will listen to it. His name is Levi Stubbs, by the way.
Yes.
He is incredible in this. Like, his voice, not only, like, the singing is amazing.
Yeah.
He has a great range, incredible voice. But also, in his, like, characterization of the plant, he does this thing where, like, his voice goes up and it kind of cracks a little bit. I can't do it, obviously, but, like, it's great.
It's a great voice.
And Seymour is like, well, I can't give you any more blood. I mean, what do you want me to do? Slit my wrist? And it goes, like, yes, please.
Please.
And this puppet is amazing. We kind of talked about it at the beginning, but it's animatronic vines that look really good.
Oh, I didn't know it was animatronic.
And yeah, a wet-ass mouth. Ooh. Wet-ass pussy, honey.
A wham.
A wham.
Wham!
And Audrey, too, is so desperate for blood that he offers to help Seymour get anything his heart desires. He sings a song called Feed Me.
Feed me, Seymour.
But as long as the blood is fresh, he says. And Rick Moranis also showcases some good vocals in this song.
Some vocals, mama.
He's hesitant, but Audrey Chu says, well, a lot of people deserve to die. And he, like, has Seymour look out the window. And he's like that nasty dentist that we see across the street is slapping Audrey in her apartment in their silhouette.
Before we see that, we see the dentist just driving on his motorcycle. Audrey isn't there, and she's running behind him.
Oh, yeah.
You're like,
I fell off. I'm so sorry.
And he's like, you stupid woman.
Yeah.
Falling off my bike.
I think he calls her a dumb slut, too.
Yeah, he calls her a dumb slut.
He is mean. And so, yeah, this is the perfect incentive for Seymour to take a turn. And for the rest of the movie, Seymour's making choices. And they sing that the guy sure looks like plant food to me. And now he is convinced that he must sacrifice the dentist to the plant.
To the plant.
The next day at the dentist's office, we get, like, probably my favorite scene in the movie that's not, like, a musical number. And it's Bill Murray playing this freak masochist. With a pain fetish.
I forgot how intense it gets. Like, I remembered the scene, I remember it coming up, but forgot how long it was. It's
how fucking gay it is.
It is gay. So homoerotic.
Well,
He wants to be the submissive bottom for the dentist's like dom top
Like
energy.
if Steve Martin was a gay character, this
There's
would be
literally
his
a
perfect.
grab he does.
Right.
There's a move he does where he like grabs the dentist. I'm like, I have done that. I've
also-
done that move.
Completely improvised, almost improvised.
Yes, I have that written down. He improvised like literally all of his
Like that
his
whole
lines.
long monologue is an improvised monologue. Like insane.
This is, I think, like my favorite Bill Murray character. Honestly,
He's a freak.
he's a fucking
The dentist
freak.
patient.
Yeah, the dentist
Masochist
patient. Yeah, because he is just like in orgasmic pleasure.
It's hilarious him like stuffing the cotton into his own mouth.
Yes.
And reclining the chair. Like he's like, I know the drill. I know the
Yeah,
drill.
and like just going on and on too about like
Whatever he's talking about, I don't
whatever the
even
fuck
really
he's
know.
saying. And the dentist is annoyed because the dentist wants to fucking torture people.
Yeah, he wants people to be in pain in a bad
pain
way.
and doesn't. And yeah, exactly. So he like kicks Bill Murray out. And then he sees Seymour waiting there, and is like, you're the perfect victim. Like, I'm gonna strap you down this chair and like inflict pain on you. But we see Seymour has a little gun that he's hiding in his like coat pocket. But before the dentist is able to like put him in a saw trap looking thing,
Yeah.
he gets the gas mask out. Because we know the dentist likes to like huff on his own
Hit the pipe.
his own medicine, exactly. And so Seymour pulls out the gun just as the dentist accidentally breaks the nozzle on his mask, which like basically ODs him on anesthesia or whatever. Is that like,
Laughing gas.
Laughing gas or whatever.
Because laughing gas just numbs, I think.
And he's laughing so hard that he's like can't even be scared that he's being threatened with the gun.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, can you give me a hand? Well,
I guess you wouldn't.
would you? And he's like cracking himself up. He laughs himself to death with like a creepy smile. And we see Seymour dragging the body bag down the stairs into the plant shop that night. Audrey, too, is like, bitch, you need to go down there and cut him up. Chop him into little pieces.
He's too big for my mouth.
Big. So Seymour goes down there with the body. He's in the like basement and he's chopping up the body. And Mr. Mushnick is stopping by the shop for some reason. And he sees Seymour's shadow as he chops the body.
And then Seymour feeds the bits to Audrey.
It's very nom 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 nom.
The next day, a very paranoid Seymour is seeing Audrey as she's talking to the police outside the shop. And he asks her what's going on, and she says that the dentist has gone missing and they suspect foul play. And she's so distraught. And he's like, well, Audrey, would it really be so bad if he went away? And at first she's like, oh, Seymour, I can't believe you
Don't say that.
And then she, like, 2 seconds later is like, but you all right. She's like, it would be kind of a miracle. And she's like, and think of the money I'd save on Ace bandages.
So true. You have to be frugal.
She's frugal.
She's doing a positive flip on it.
She's
Appreciate it.
making it positive. And he comforts her, and he says, don't waste another minute thinking about that creep. There's a lot of nice guys that give anything to go out with you, Audrey. Nice guys.
I don't deserve a nice guy, Seymour.
He goes, that's not true. She goes, you don't know the half of it. I led a terrible life. I deserved a creep like Oren Scrivello, DDS. You know where I met him? In the gutter. It's a night spot. I worked there on my nights off when we weren't making much money. I'd put on cheap, tasteless outfits. Not nice ones like this. Meanwhile, her breasts are spilling out of this little black
Her
dress.
areola is a centimeter away from the end of the fabric.
I love that line.
And she's like, I never wore classy things like,
like
this.
Oh, the boar
Not
worm.
the poor one.
Not the boar worms.
And he goes, well, that's all behind you now, Audrey. You've got nothing to be ashamed of. You're a very nice person. I always knew you were. Underneath the bruises and the handcuffs, you know what I saw? A girl I respected. Still do. And they sing Suddenly Seymour.
My favorite.
It's
Actually,
such a
second,
good
one of my
song.
favorite numbers of this production.
I think it's my favorite song in this show.
No,
it's so good. What's your favorite?
We haven't gotten there yet.
Okay,
so
we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
But he makes her feel special, and she has this beautiful breakthrough in like the second verse. And I love how at the beginning of the song, and this whole movie really, she's kind of had this little like baby voice, and she sings really softly. But in the second chorus, she starts belting her face. Belting her ass off.
Because the whole verse, she's like, hide him,
follow him blindly.
But all of a sudden, yes,
Seymour. And she sounds fucking good.
great.
Mama can wail. And they finish the song off with a passionate kiss. And that night, a very happy Seymour is just in complete bliss. He walks Audrey home, and then he returns to the plant shop. And he is so, like, happy that he does not even see how gigantic Audrey 2 has become.
Oblivious. Mama, he's oblivious.
He's like fucking like a quarter of this big ass room at this point. And Mr. Mushnick pops out. And he reveals that he saw Seymour cutting up the body. And Audrey 2 is in the background singing this really spooky song called It's Supper Time. And Mushnick is threatening Seymour with the gun. And then we kind of see like the cogs turning in Mushnick's brain. And he's like, well, wait a second. How about I make a deal with you, Seymour? You let me have the plant, and I'll let you run away scot-free. I won't tell anyone what I saw.
He's the embodiment of
Showing
capitalism
the
and
capitalism themes. Yes, exactly. But meanwhile, Audrey 2 is sneaking up right behind Mushnick.
He's right behind me, isn't he?
He's right behind me, isn't he? And Seymour may or may not realize what is happening as Mushnick turns around and gets snatched up.
Snatched, mama.
We then get a montage of Seymour getting swallowed up by corporate greed. And he's becoming this huge celebrity. He's being interviewed for a TV show. And he is having mega guilt about the whole thing. And he, like, turns the cameras away at one point because he's so overwhelmed. Because, like, they don't paint Seymour as, like, he's loving this. He's, like, overwhelmed by this. Like, he did not realize what was going to happen.
He just thought he could get, like, a little famous and then go back to his day-to-day life.
But now it's like he is everywhere, all over the world. He's, like, on the cover of Time magazine and, like, shit like that. It's
He's
really
every
funny.
woman.
He is every woman. Shaka Khan. Audrey gets really confused when he turns the cameras away like that. And she's like, well, I wish you would just enjoy your fame, Seymour. Like, I don't understand. And he tells her, like, I'm going to sell the plant to the investors. And they have this whole moment where he asks her to ditch town and get married. And it's really wholesome. And she gets really excited. And she goes to get ready. And it's so cute. But he doesn't, like, it really... He kind of avoids her question. Like, he's still keeping her in the dark about the plant.
Yes.
And at the shop, the plant is literally taking up, like, half the room in size. Like, this is, I think, the biggest it gets. Like, this... He's kind of reached his, like, Pokemon evolution.
The final evolution.
Exactly. And Seymour is, like, tiptoeing around it while it sleeps. All the vines are, like, scattered across the floor.
Mm-hmm.
But it wakes up screaming, feed me. And Seymour goes, I won't feed you anymore. It's causing me this terrible guilt. And Audrey 2 hits him with the tough titty. It's literally like, bitch, run me the meat, bitch.
I do not care if you don't like this.
It's literally, to quote Delta, run me my barbecue sauce. Run me my ketchup. Shut your fucking hole.
Run me my ketchup. Run me my barbecue. Shut your fucking hole. I don't want to hear your mouth.
And Seymour leaves. He's like, okay, I'll go get you, like, like a cow or something to feed you?
I don't remember
what he says. But Audrey, too, notices the phone, the payphone in the room. And he starts developing a evil plan.
Plan.
Secret plan. He calls Audrey.
Audrey!
Who Audrey is in this beautiful wedding dress.
She looks so gorgeous.
She looks amazing. And she's so excited.
This is my favorite Audrey look, the wedding dress.
Oh, I do love the wedding dress too. Yeah, it's amazing. And she thinks it's Seymour at first. But then she's looking out the window and she realizes she's talking to the plant on the phone because her apartment is right across the street from the shop. So she runs over to the store and is like, what the hell? Because she had never knew that the plant could talk, that it was getting so big this whole time. And she's like, am I dreaming this? And he goes, no.
No.
And you ain't in Kansas either. And the plant asked Audrey to water it. And then it snatches her up into the mouth. Seymour runs back in as she's like hanging out of it, and he like pulls her out of the mouth and he carries her outside. Now, y'all, this is where the original ending would have began. And where the alternate ending is different. So, I'll go over the original ending first.
Okay.
Because I think it's better. And I think it fits the story better.
I agree.
So she falls over. And in this version, she doesn't get back up. She is bleeding. Like, you can clearly see that she has blood on her, like, stomach, like where she was in the teeth of the plant. And she is dying. She tells Seymour that when she dies, and she goes, which should be very shortly.
Which should be very shortly.
And it's sad. She wants him to give her body to the plant so that it will grow big and strong, and then I'll be a part of the plant, and then you and me can still live happily ever after. You can get all the wonderful things you deserve. And in a way, it's like we'll always be together.
Well, and then she sings her little bit, and the ending goes, and I'll always be somewhere that's green, because she's in the plant.
I cried during this part.
I cry. I sit here, I tear up.
And I never cry in the alternate ending. Like
the
theatrical
No,
ending.
the alternate ending is like, ooh.
It's like, oh.
Yeah, like,
okay.
There's no reason to cry.
Whatever that means. But this version literally gets you teared up. Like, it tugs on your heartstrings. And, yeah, it's a reprise of Somewhere That's Green. Yeah. Which we don't get in the alternate ending.
And that's a crime.
And then it's like very dramatic. The music here, the score is so like epic and so sad as it swells up. And he takes her like ceremoniously like places her into the open mouth of the plant, and it swallows her up. And it's just heartbreaking. So I guess the reason why they had to reshoot this is because in the film version, audiences grew so attached to Seymour and Audrey, and they're painted much more like sympathetically and less jokey than in the stage show. In the movie, like, and Seymour, his actions aren't as reprehensible in the movie because he's a little bit more like he lacks like agency whenever like he's feeding the plant and like doing the evil deeds and stuff for the plant.
And the stage production, he's kind of, after the first one in the stage production, after The Dentist, he kind of gets into it. He kind of is like, this is what I have to do.
And it kind of swallows him up, and he's more full of that corporate greed. Whereas the Rick Moranis version, like, he's just a victim on all this, pretty much. Like, he is taking a back seat in his own trajectory. So it makes you more sad when he kind of gets his comeuppance, I think.
I agree.
But still, I think it's better. Anyway, after Seymour feeds Audrey's body to the plant, he runs from the store in tears, and he climbs up to the top of a nearby building, and he's going to kill himself. But
which I can see how in 86...
That would have been...
that would have been dramatic.
Clutch my
pearls. Also, you know, just like we see in the movie Heathers in the 86, we're seeing a lot of... a peak in suicide rates. And I could see how they would want to keep that out of media.
That's a very valid point.
At the time of, like, we can't do it. We can't glamorize it.
Teenage suicide. Yeah. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Exactly. So this marketing agent, like, asshole appears on the roof. I don't know how he found Seymour up here. But he says that he took it upon himself to do a cutting from Audrey 2, and he grew his own little baby Audrey 2. And he's basically proposing a plan like we can mass market these.
Every
and
home in America
you'll
will have
become
an
a billionaire
Audrey.
in every home in America. Exactly. And the little baby Audrey 2 gives like a sinister little creepy smile. And Seymour's like, oh, fuck this. Like, no, this needs to be stopped. And so he realizes that he has to destroy Audrey 2 before it takes over the world.
Yeah.
So he runs back down to the shop to confront the plan. And he goes, every household in America? Was this your plan all along? World domination? And Audrey 2 goes, no shit, Sherlock.
And this is my favorite number in the show.
Mean Green Mother from Outer Space. Yes, so Audrey 2 says there's no use threatening him, and he can move now. He like breaks, it's like little, he grows like little legs that like break out of his pot. And yeah, he sings this number, which was the song that like it's the original song for the movie.
So they submitted it for the Oscars.
And it got nominated, right?
Yeah, and it's the only, it was the first Oscars nominated song, original song to have a swear word in it.
Because he says shit.
Because the recording starts at, no shit, Sherlock. That's the moment it starts. So.
And he said at one point, he says it don't mean shit. Like at some point, yeah. And in this version, Seymour is shooting at the plant with his little handgun, but the bullets ricochet off the plant. It's bulletproof. And then these like little heads grow out of the vines to harmonize with himself.
Yeah, crazy.
It's amazing. And he pantses Seymour, and he continues. Seymour gets like an axe and is trying to like, kill the plant, but it doesn't work. He's no match against it. And the plant begins destroying the shop, and he pins Seymour against the wall and says, I'm gonna bust your balls! And with the plant shop now completely destroyed, Audrey 2 wraps its vines around Seymour and dramatically lowers him into his mouth. And then it eats him up and spits out his glasses.
Comedic.
Yeah, it's so like slapsticky. I love it. I don't know. I don't feel that sad when Seymour dies.
No, I don't either. Audrey, I
makes me laugh.
Tears. I'm crying.
I know. I cry when Audrey dies.
And then I'm like, oh, he shrunk the kids too hard, I guess.
Because it's Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
Like, how seriously can you take Rick Moranis? Right?
I can't.
And then we cut to this big American flag backdrop, and the muses are singing in front of it. I love this song. And they're explaining through song that several instances all over the country, just like we witnessed, have started to happen now that the plant has become mass marketed. And we see this montage of everyone buying the plant, and then on TV we see there's news of like a massive plant invasion, and we get a literal 5-minute sequence that is a Godzilla homage, where we watch as the plant like terrifies the world and destroys the world. And there's all like hundreds of huge ass Audrey 2s, and they're like causing mass destruction. It's all practical effects. There's no CGI.
No CGI in this whole movie.
It looks sick as hell, and we're just watching it go on the rampage. And there's even like a moment where it comes out of the water Godzilla style. It's like an exact reference to one of the Godzilla movies. And it's so fucking funny. And it cracks me up like watching all the people being like, oh my God, like my house.
Yeah, and I'm just like, how did this not?
I know. I guess like different time maybe.
I guess.
Because nowadays
would hit.
This would hit really hard. And it climbs up to the top of the Statue of Liberty, and it literally says the end, and then it looks like the plant is smashing out of like the TV screen, like if you were watching this in theaters, like it's coming at you from the movie screen, like 3D or something. So that's how it ends originally.
And I think, hey, nothing else to say.
I love it.
Let's end the podcast here.
Right?
In my universe, this is where it ends.
Exactly. Because it kind of like reinforces the idea that this is a horror movie. This is based off of like those B-movie science fiction movies.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it is a tragedy too. It's a Greek tragedy. That's why we have muses. That's why Seymour is making bad decisions now. And at the end of the day, this is how it would end. You don't get off scot-free if you're committing murder. Like, thematically, it just doesn't work as
Yeah.
well. It's like, you can't have your cake and eat it too, kind of.
And then just run away from it and call,
Yeah.
And even in this one, I'm glad that Seymour gets his comeuppance. He doesn't get to kill himself. He doesn't get to end it and be a coward and jump out of it. He has to face the problem he created head on.
Yeah.
And then he loses his life to that.
Exactly.
And that's a much more theatrical... I that's why I like that. It's a much more theatrical interpretation of how do you get out of your problems. You either face them head on or you solve them. But running away is never going to work.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that. I think I totally agree with that, Keaton.
And that's why I like the original ending.
Yeah. We'll go back and we'll do the theatrical ending now, okay?
Whatever.
So we get back. Audrey was just in the mouth of the plant. He pulls her out. They go back to the alley. She falls over, but it literally cuts, and it's such an awkward cut because she's like, oh, wow, no, I feel fine now.
Yeah, shoots back up.
I'm not dead. And she has no blood on her this time. And Seymour does this monologue where he apologizes to her for everything he's done. And he asks if she'll still like him even when he's no longer famous. And she goes, Seymour, I'd still love you even if you're no longer famous. I only loved you for you, Seymour. Oh, and they kiss and they sing a reprise of Suddenly Seymour.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's a happy ending.
Yeah.
But suddenly, Jim Belushi shows up, and he's like, can you guys stop singing for a second?
Yeah, he says, cut the singing out.
Yeah, he's like, hey, can you guys stop singing for a second? I have to ask you something.
This is much more important than whatever number we're doing.
And they're like, oh, yeah, what's up? And yeah, it was originally not Jim Belushi, but I think it's really funny. I do like his take on the executive better.
Yeah.
It's like, because it's Jim Belushi, he's like camping it up. And he's like, I want to mass market
It's the same spiel.
plan. It's the same spiel. And Seymour this time tells him, no, now get out of here. Like, fuck you, kind of thing. And he tells Audrey that he needs to go and finish Audrey 2 once and for all. Mm-hmm. So then we get an alternate version of I'm a Mean Green Mother from outer space that goes pretty much the same until Audrey 2 starts to destroy the shop. And we see Seymour pulls out some broken electrical wires and he uses it to electrocute the plant. And then it goes, oh shit!
Electric boogaloo.
And it like explodes.
Yeah. Literally like just explodes.
But also like evaporates. Because there's no like residue.
Yeah.
Like I was like expecting a bunch of guts and stuff. Nope.
No.
Vaporized.
Vaporized,
Yeah.
And it's all like foggy and Audrey thinks like, oh no, did Seymour make it out? And he made it out. He like emerges from the smoke. And they embrace. And then it cuts to them moving into that fairy tale like suburban house from her vision earlier.
Yeah.
And they go off to live happily ever after. But then we do see that there's a little Audrey 2 plant growing from their front lawn. It's like a ooh,
little shop of horrors. I saw something. Maybe it was on Reddit. I don't know. I forget. Last night when I was looking. And it was like, why is it called Little Shop of Horrors? There's just one.
I feel like they could have honestly done something to keep both Audrey and Seymour alive, but also keep that original ending still. They could have done this whole like the executive just ended up stealing it and calling it something different. You know what I mean?
oh yeah. And so it's like the executive.
So they thought they got away from it, but
You know what I mean? I don't know.
Mix that. And then you could see them dying at the end. But I'm sorry, there's something about Audrey's death. I agree with you. If it wasn't for Audrey's death, and
I think they could have
because it had the
worked with it.
campy Godzilla scenes.
like
It's kind of like, okay, that's it.
It's kind of basic.
That's what I thought, because I remember watching it. It's like, wow, the kill count in this movie is low as fuck.
Yeah, because the original version, the whole world dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's whatever. I like the original ending, and I would recommend that one for sure.
After you watch, either watch the director's cut or after you watch it.
And the original
go to
ending is on
and-
YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like this version.
I love.
I wish I could have seen Jinx Monsoon playing
And Corbin
Audrey.
Blue.
Corbin Blue.
Latrice Royale is going to be in it in LA.
Who's she playing?
Audrey 2.
Oh, that's amazing casting. That is cunt. T.S. Madison on that Boreworms video, she said that she would wanted to play Audrey 2 at some point. I would love that. Yeah.
I would find where that was and I'd go
Be
see that.
amazing, yeah. Yeah, I really like queer actors in this.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty queer coded.
Well,
Like, it was
I
written
mean,
by a
like,
gay man.
you all kept referring to Audrey 2 as he, and I'm like, I get it because the voice, but I'm like, I always thought it was a she, because then it's like Green Mother.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
You're right.
I always thought she was I was like, it's Audrey 2, it's a woman.
You know,
I always thought
I
Mean
am
Green
so
She just has a
sorry.
deep voice.
I should not have assumed their gender.
Yeah, because I always assumed Mean Green Mother was Mean Green Motherfucker.
Yeah.
But it could
But
be
also
taken
mother,
to
because
be
she is
Mother.
Mother
because I
Earth,
mean, like,
yeah.
how plants reproduce asexually. It's like she is
Exactly.
like the mother.
She is the mother of all the... So...
And she is Mother Gaia.
No, yeah,
she is your mother.
So I think of Audrey. You know, she has a lot of altars.
Yeah.
Sometimes she's very feminine. Sometimes she's very New York.
And how do you want people to address you?
You know what? I grew up in a whole different era. So basically, I'm fine with she. I love she. You know, every queen wants to be called she, especially when she hasn't shaved the next day. But I've been seeing online they, and that's fine too, because they don't know if I'm, you know, girl, boy, or other, and that's fine. Yeah, I'm basically a chameleon. So this one day I'm very New York, and the next day I'm feeling very flamboyant. So I have a lot of alters.
But it's kind of like Ursula, where Audrey 2 is not explicitly in the movie, in the canon, a queer icon, queer person, but
to me,
coded, I'm sure someone intentionally...
Oh, it's how I feel. I also feel that way for the main characters, for Audrey and Rick Moranis, for Seymour. Because they're, to me, very, like, trans-coded. Like, you could see, like, Audrey being, like, trans-feminine and Seymour as trans-masculine. Like, I think there's a reading there, too. Of them, like, being on the outside and...
MJ Rodriguez, who is from Pose, did
was
Audrey, and I thought it was perfect. Well,
she's
I'll have
great.
to show you, Steve. Like, her singing Suddenly Seymour is just...
Well, she's got the voice. I mean,
beautiful.
she gave us... What's her meme where she's like, deliver!
Yeah!
Deliver, baby!
Deliver! Deliver, boy! Deliver!
Okay, guys. So, that's Little Shop of Horrors.
We're pro Little Shop of Horrors in this house.
Yes, absolutely. One of my favorites.
One of my faves.
Yeah, please let us know if you enjoy us doing, like, non-horror movies. Because this is, like, the first time that we're changing up the format. And I'm excited. I wonder if we'll attract, like, a bigger audience through this. So... What?
We'll see.
I don't know if SHOWTUNE September is
No, I think...
You are the biggest hater I've
You're
ever
a
met.
hater. There's lots of people who like SHOWTUNEs.
If y'all want to turn this into a SHOWTUNE podcast,
Not just SHOWTUNEs, but I'm saying it's a
I'm just messing.
You're a hater.
I am.
Because
I know.
Don't joke about that.
Don't joke about that.
So next week, we are going to dive into another movie musical. We're doing Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom of the Opera.
Which I love the musical, the stage show.
It's a musical.
It's one of my favorite stage shows. But I have opinions about that movie.
Oh, I have opinions about the movie.
The 2003
or 4 or whatever.
Something.
The Gerard
people know.
Butler and
not the original, not any of the later ones. The 2000s.
Yeah.
one.
Well, it's the only like film adaptation of the musical. We had like that 25th anniversary version.
Live.
Which I still prefer to the movie.
Yeah.
But it's not like an actual like movie. It's
No, it's
just
like
a
concert.
staging of the show. Yeah. So that's what we're doing. There's going to be a lot to discuss.
And I'll be back next week.
Yes, Keaton will be joining us for the entire month. So get fucking ready.
Get ready.
So until next week, we would like to say thank you so much for joining us today on Let's Scream for our first installment of SHOWTUNE Screamtember. We hope you had a fun time with us at Skid Row. Please remember to follow the pod, like the pod, and leave us a review. It really helps us out. We are at Let's Scream Pod on all the socials. You can stream the podcast on YouTube and Spotify, but we also have an Instagram, a TikTok, a Twitter, and am I missing something? No, that's it, right?
I think so.
Okay, so make sure to follow us all there at Let's Scream Pod. And you can also send us movie requests for future episodes.
Yes.
You can follow me at Parker_Will_C.
And you can follow me at StevieNash95.
You can follow me at Jesus_is_biscuit on Instagram.
Yes, you can, which I have to say every time. Best handle I've ever heard.
Thank you.
And that's all on Instagram. Did we say that?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, until next time, this has been
Let's Scream.
Bye.